Italy is often talked about in the same breath as France and Switzerland when people discuss European living. Expensive cities, packed tourist hotspots, and a cost of living that seems to climb every year. Rome, Milan, Florence, these names dominate every live in Italy conversation, and for good reason. But Italy is not one place. It is 20 distinct regions, each with its own dialect, cuisine, climate, and economy. And for those who know where to look, several of those regions offer a quality of life that is genuinely difficult to match anywhere in Europe, at a price point that would surprise most Western retirees. There is also a tax incentive on the table right now that most people outside Italy have never heard of, and as you will see, it changes the financial calculus for foreign pension holders considerably. We will get into that, along with the real costs on the ground, the property picture, and the honest trade-offs for each region. Keep in mind, the figures presented here are approximations meant to give you a sense of the cost of living. Always verify with up-to-date sources before making any decisions. And as you will see, our top pick offers something the others simply cannot match. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 7. Lombardy and the Italian Lakes, Northern Italy. Lombardy sits at the northern edge of Italy, bordering Switzerland, and it is home to the country's most famous lake district. Lake Como, Lake Maggiore, and Lake Garda each attract a different type of resident, from wealthy Europeans seeking second homes to retirees drawn by the alpine scenery and mild lakeside climate. The region is prosperous, well-connected, and unmistakably Italian while feeling distinctly cosmopolitan. The infrastructure here is among the best in the country. Rail links to Milan, Zurich, and beyond are straightforward, the healthcare system is strong, and English is more widely spoken than in southern regions. The lake towns themselves, places like Varenna, Stresa, and Sirmione, are genuinely beautiful. On the cost side, this is the most expensive region on this list. Renting a modest one-bedroom apartment in a lake-facing town typically runs somewhere between $1,200 and $1,800 per month, and a comfortable overall budget for a couple is more realistically in the $3,000 to $3,500 range monthly. Property prices around Lake Como specifically are high by Italian standards, with lakefront or lake view homes frequently exceeding $400,000 even for modest sizes. That said, the northern lakes are worth mentioning because they represent Italy at its most accessible for those coming from high-cost backgrounds. The transition feels manageable. The food markets, the slower pace compared to Milan proper, and the sheer visual reward of daily life near water make it a genuine lifestyle upgrade even if the savings are modest. On the downside, this is not the Italy of budget relocation. Winters can be cold and grey, particularly from November through February, and the summer tourist season pushes prices and crowds to uncomfortable levels in the most famous villages. Number 6. Tuscany, Central Italy. Tuscany needs little introduction in terms of landscape. Rolling hills, medieval hilltop towns, vineyards, and a food and wine culture that has been refined over centuries. The region draws a large international community, particularly British, American, and Northern European retirees who have been arriving steadily since the 1980s. The established expat presence is both a strength and a complication. On one hand, there are well-worn support networks, English-speaking doctors and lawyers, and a general familiarity with foreign residents buying property or settling long-term. On the other hand, that familiarity has pushed prices up considerably in the most popular areas. The Chianti corridor between Florence and Siena, and towns like Cortona, Montepulciano, and Lucca, attract premium prices. A monthly budget for a couple living reasonably comfortably in a rural Tuscan setting runs roughly $2,500 to $3,200, depending heavily on whether they are renting or own property outright. Rural farmhouses and stone cottages do still appear on the market below $200,000, particularly in lesser visited parts of the region, though they often require renovation work. Tuscany's climate is pleasant, with warm dry summers and cooler winters that rarely turn severe at lower altitudes. Healthcare access is solid, and the regional capital Florence offers world-class cultural amenities. The honest downside is this: Tuscany has been heavily discovered. In certain towns, particularly during summer, the ratio of tourists to residents tips noticeably, and the charm of Italian village life can feel diluted. For those seeking genuine immersion rather than a curated version of it, other regions on this list may serve better. Number 5. Abruzzo, Central Eastern Italy. Abruzzo sits on the Adriatic side of central Italy, east of Rome, and it is one of the most consistently underrated regions in the country. It is the greenest region in Europe by percentage of protected natural land, with 2 national parks and a 3rd regional park covering a substantial portion of its territory. The Apennine Mountains run through the interior, and the Adriatic coastline runs the full length of its eastern edge. The towns here, places like Pescara on the coast, Chieti inland, and the smaller hilltop villages scattered through the Gran Sasso foothills, are genuinely livable without the tourist overlay. Locals go about their lives, the markets are local, and the pace is slower without feeling remote. Cost of living in Abruzzo is noticeably lower than Tuscany or Lombardy. A couple can live comfortably on somewhere between $1,800 and $2,400 per month, covering rent, food, utilities, and a reasonable social life. Rental prices in the smaller interior towns are among the lowest in mainland Italy, and property can still be found in the $80,000 to $150,000 range for habitable homes, with renovation projects lower still. Abruzzo also benefits from reasonable access to Rome, roughly 90 to 120 minutes by road or rail from the western edge of the region, making it practical without requiring full immersion in urban life. On the downside, English is not widely spoken outside Pescara and the coastal strip. Those without at least basic Italian will find the smaller villages require real language effort, and the expat community, while growing, is still thin compared to Tuscany or the south. Number 4. Puglia, southern Italy. Puglia occupies the heel of Italy's boot, a long, flat, sun-drenched peninsula stretching between the Adriatic and the Ionian Sea. It has been on international radar for about a decade now, driven partly by the famous trolley houses of the Itria Valley and the whitewashed towns of the coastal south, particularly Ostuni, Polignano a Mare, and Lex. Savvy buyers from Northern Europe and North America started moving here seriously in the 2010s, and while prices have risen, they remain considerably lower than comparable coastal areas in Tuscany or the north. The climate is one of the strongest selling points. Summers are long, hot, and reliably sunny, and winters are mild by European standards, with temperatures rarely dropping below 5 degrees Celsius on the coast. The food culture is outstanding, built around olive oil, fresh seafood, burrata, and some of Italy's most interesting wines. Monthly costs for a couple in Puglia fall roughly in the $1,800 to $2,600 range, depending on the town and housing choice. Property prices vary considerably. A Trullo property in the Vale d'Itria needing work can be found below $100,000, while a renovated masseria or seaview apartment in Ostuni or Polignano will command multiples of that. Puglia has a growing expat community, and the main towns have begun to develop English-friendly services and internationally-minded estate agents. However, the region is not without friction. Infrastructure outside the main cities can be inconsistent, public transport between smaller towns is limited, and a car is essentially non-negotiable for rural living. Additionally, the summer tourist season, particularly July and August, transforms many coastal towns into overcrowded destinations that bear little resemblance to off-season life. Number 3. Campania, southern Italy. Campania is built around Naples, one of the most energetic and historically dense cities in Europe, and it stretches out to include the Amalfi Coast, the islands of Capri and Ischia, the Sorrentine Peninsula, and the quieter interior province of Benevento. This is a region of extremes, spectacular natural beauty alongside real urban complexity, ancient history alongside modern chaos. For those willing to engage with it, Campania offers something few other Italian regions can, a full-spectrum Italian experience at considerably lower cost than the north. Naples itself is one of the most affordable large cities in Western Europe for day-to-day living. Groceries, coffee, street food, local markets, all of it is priced for a local economy that earns considerably less than Milan or Rome. A couple living in and around Naples or in the quieter Campanian towns can manage on $1,700 to $2,300 per month comfortably. Rental prices in Naples itself and in the surrounding towns of Caserta, Salerno, and Benevento remain low. Property in the interior provinces can be remarkably affordable, with habitable apartments appearing under $80,000 in smaller towns. The 7% flat tax on foreign pension income is worth flagging here. Italy introduced this incentive for foreign pension holders who move to qualifying municipalities in southern regions, including parts of Campania. The threshold requires moving to a town with a population under 20,000 in a qualifying southern region, which many Campanian towns meet. On the downside, Campania's complexity is real. Naples has a reputation for petty crime that, while often exaggerated, is not entirely unfounded. Bureaucracy can be particularly slow in this part of Italy, and the informal economy means that some services operate outside what new arrivals expect. Number 2. Basilicata, southern Italy. Basilicata is the most overlooked region on this list, flying well under the radar even for people who have researched Italian relocation extensively. It sits between Campania and Calabria, with a small stretch of coastline on both the Tyrrhenian and Ionian sides, and a dramatic interior of mountains, river gorges, and ancient hilltop settlements. The regional capital is Potenza, one of the highest altitude provincial capitals in Italy, but the town that has put Basilicata on the international map is Matera. Matera is extraordinary. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, it is built into and around a ravine, with cave dwellings, called sassi, that have been continuously inhabited for thousands of years. It was designated a European Capital of Culture in 2019, and that exposure brought international attention that has only grown since. Despite this, it remains genuinely affordable. A couple can live in or around Matera on roughly $1,500 to $2,100 per month, with rental costs for a well-positioned apartment considerably lower than anything comparable in northern Italy. Property in Basilicata, including in smaller towns beyond Matera, is among the cheapest available in Italy. Habitable properties in rural towns can be found for well under $60,000, and several municipalities have run their own low-cost or €1 house schemes to attract new residents. Basilicata also qualifies for Italy's 7% flat tax regime for foreign pensioners, which is a material financial benefit for those receiving pension income from abroad. The downside is genuine remoteness. Public transport is sparse, and a car is not just useful but essential. Job opportunities for working-age expats are limited, and the expat community is small. English speakers are uncommon outside Matera itself. This is a region for those who genuinely want depth of experience over convenience. Number 1. Sicily, southern Italy. Sicily is the obvious choice and the right one. At just over 25,000 square kilometers, it is the largest island in the Mediterranean, and it functions more like a continent in miniature than a single destination. There is the Baroque grandeur of the southeast, the Arab-Norman architecture of Palermo, the volcanic drama of Mount Etna, the Greek temples of Agrigento, and over 1,000 kilometers of coastline ranging from Atlantic blue rocky coves to wide, sandy Ionian beaches. For foreign retirees and long-term residents, Sicily offers the most compelling overall package of any Italian region. The cost of living is among the lowest on the Italian mainland or islands, the climate is the best in the country, winters are mild and short, and summers are long without the extreme humidity of some coastal areas. The food culture is a distinct cuisine in its own right, drawing on Greek, Arab, Norman, and Spanish influences in ways that make it unlike anything elsewhere in Italy. Monthly living costs for a couple in Sicily generally fall between $1,600 and $2,400, varying significantly by town and lifestyle. In smaller interior towns like Enna, Caltanissetta, or Ragusa, costs lean toward the lower end. In Palermo or the increasingly popular southeastern towns like Noto, Modica, and Ragusa Ibla, costs are slightly higher but still well below European averages. Property is where Sicily becomes genuinely compelling. The €1 house program, which has run in multiple Sicilian municipalities including Sambuca di Sicilia, Marsamelli, and Bivona, has attracted global attention. These properties come with renovation requirements and deposits, but they represent an entry point into Italian property ownership that simply does not exist elsewhere in Western Europe. More conventionally priced habitable homes in smaller Sicilian towns are available in the $50,000 to $120,000 range, and larger or renovated properties in premium locations command more. Sicily qualifies for the 7% flat tax on foreign pension income regime, arguably the most powerful financial incentive available to foreign retirees anywhere in Italy. This applies to pension income sourced abroad and transferred to Italy, held at a flat 7% rate for up to 10 years, a significant advantage for those receiving US Social Security, UK state or private pensions, or Canadian pension income. The expat community in Sicily has grown notably in recent years, particularly in the southeast and in Palermo. There are now established networks of English-speaking lawyers, estate agents familiar with foreign buyers, and international residents who have completed the bureaucratic process and can offer guidance. On the downside, Sicily's infrastructure is uneven. The road network in the interior can be poor, rail connections between towns are slow and infrequent, and Palermo and Campania airports are the only reliable international gateways. Bureaucracy, as across southern Italy, moves at its own pace. And while the island has opened up considerably to foreign residents, rural Sicily still requires Italian language skills for anything beyond surface-level engagement. That said, for a Western retiree or long-term expat seeking genuine lifestyle value, historical depth, excellent climate, low costs, and a meaningful tax incentive, no other Italian region comes close. And there you have it, 7 of Italy's most compelling regions for living, retiring, or buying property in 2026. From the lakeside comfort of Lombardy to the raw, sun-baked depth of Sicily, Italy offers more variety than most people realize, and considerably more affordability than its reputation suggests if you know which regions to focus on. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. We cover destinations like this every week. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.